we don't learn personal finance in school, right? There's
Okay.
no money class, there's no investing class, they don't teach you about taxes, they don't teach you about anything in regards to the thing that we use the most of and use every single day, which is money. Everything now is tapped, right? We don't reach in our wallet anymore and pull cash out, so you're not really paying attention to how much money you're spending. But if you really stop to just take a look, you'll find hundreds to sometimes a couple $1,000s that disappears that you don't even know is disappearing. A lot of folks think about their income like it's an asset, but can change like that,
Yeah.
right? You can make 200,000 or 100,000 today and be making zero tomorrow, right?
Before we begin this episode, the Mind Depot podcast would like to ask that you take a second to click the subscribe and like button. It greatly helps us to grow our channel and find more guests that you would like. We appreciate and thank you for watching.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Depot podcast. Today's guest is Doug Williams. He is one of the premier insurance specialists of New York, and he's going to discuss that with us today. He has over how many years you have now?
Over a decade. I'm an investment advisor, so
Oh, so you do investment and insurance or just investment?
yes, sir. I do it all.
All right, he does it all. One-stop shop. All right.
Yep.
Okay, so first, Doug, we're going to find out about you when you were younger. Like, what type of household did you come from? Was it a single family, two-parent family? How did it go?
I'm a Jamaican immigrant, right? I actually came here when I was 11. So my family dynamic is a little interesting. I lived in Jamaica with my mom mainly, and my brother, and then when I immigrated to America, I moved with my dad and my stepmom. So I kind of have the, dynamic of living with both parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I came here when I was 11 years old. Started in sixth grade, brand new to the country, brand new to everything. So it was an interesting transition, leaving all my friends. I come from a huge family. My grandma has 11 kids, and where I live and grew up is like everybody there is related. So I come from, a ton of cousins, a ton of family members. So it was definitely quite a transition, making that move to the United States. But I understood that it was for, better opportunity, better life, and, decided I had to make the best of it. So that's what I ended up doing.
Okay, and when you first came, were you scared of what's going to happen, or did you not miss what you came from?
I had a pretty dope upbringing, man. My childhood was really, really cool. I come from, when I grew up, we used to play outside. The kids today don't know what that is, but outside was where we lived and had a great time. And again, because I had so many family and friends around, it was amazing. So it was definitely different, but it was quite a transition. It was really was. I won't say it was a little difficult, but I got used to it. I really just understood what it was and kind of made the best of it, had to form new friendships, and a lot of those people I'm still friends with today. And just roll with the punches, man.
Did you ever keep in contact with any of your friends from back home?
Oh, absolutely. I'm in Jamaica all the time. So literally every year I'm there. I was there 3 times last year. So a lot of my friends that I grew up with, a lot of my family, my brother's still there, my niece and my nephew. So I have quite a bit of family back home, and yeah, I'm there all the time, and we talk all the time. So still maintain all those relationships. That's really important to me. So definitely something that I value, that I cherish.
So when you came over here, it was just you by yourself, or you came with your brother?
No. So my brother's actually quite a bit older than I am. So he's already established. He's got his whole life already figured out. He does really well for himself. So it was just me. And my sister came a little bit before I came. She actually has a different mom. So my dad brought us up and brought us together. And yeah, man, we just kind of rocked out. So it was me, my sister, my dad, my stepmom. That was kind of our household from 11 till like teenage years and stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
All right. What was your childhood dream growing up?
I had so many. That's a great question. Definitely a kid with a super vivid imagination. Always been really bright, did well in school. But I had a lot of interests. It's so funny. Even yesterday, I was reminded that I saw the Big Dipper last night. And I remember being a kid and wanting a telescope so bad. So I had an interest in astronomy. I had an interest in being a zoologist, right? Because I heard that we didn't have a black zoologist since the 1930s.
Oh,
So there were
wow.
so many different interests that I had. I used to read a lot. Crazy imagination. I love video games and animation. So I figured something in computer or technology or space, or I had a ton of interest, man. I really did. So I always kind of just, like I always just thought big. I always had big visions and big goals, even from a kid. So yeah, pretty cool.
Any one of those dreams you tried to like steer towards it through like school, high school, middle school?
So computer engineering was my major. That's what I thought I was going to do. Maybe venture into graphics and animation. And then as I got into high school and college, I kind of, I realized kind of being in behind a computer at a desk wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do. And that's how we end up I ended up gravitating into sales, and that's where we met, and just dealing with people. That's always been my favorite part of what I do. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love dealing with people. So I just knew whatever I was going to do was definitely going to be involved, dealing with people and somewhere in that line of work.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
So in your high school years, did you play any sports or any instruments? Like what was going on in those years?
Um, no sports. I tried to get into football the last year of high school, but the coach was like, "You try to pad your resume." So no, and I kind of did. That was kind of actually I did play tennis. I played tennis for a year in high school. That was the only main sport that I did. Still love tennis today. I still play whenever I can. But that was like the only team sport that I did. Now back home when I was in Jamaica, I played soccer and cricket for my school. We call it primary school. That's like what you guys call elementary, but didn't have a lot of opportunities here in my school, in high school. But yeah, so I still have an interest in sports. I still enjoy that stuff, but I never thought about going professional or nothing like that. That was never the goal.
Okay. Were
Yeah.
you on the popular side or were you on the like the nerdy side? Educated, I have
Um,
my career lined up.
You know, I had a really good balance of both. So my high school years, definitely, yeah, definitely one of the more popular kids. But I was always book smart. So I didn't really feel like you had to trade, but me and my friend group were definitely like those guys in high school. So it was pretty cool. I was the more low-key friend, but everybody knew who I was and they knew who my friends were. We were like some of the tallest dudes in the school, and like you had to know us to really be popping. So
Okay.
so it was pretty cool. Yeah.
All
It
right.
didn't it didn't start out that way though. In middle school, and again, that transition from being Jamaican and having the funny accent and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
those years were a little tough. But yeah, by the time I got into high school, I'd shot up like 6 inches, and I'd started working and having money and buying gear and really being fresh. And so it was definitely, yeah. By the time I got to high school, I was more in tune with who I was. Middle school, not so much. That was a little different, but
Okay.
but it worked out. It worked out.
Were you working during school or did you not work until after you finished high school?
You know what? My dad's always had his own business, and that's kind of where I get my entrepreneurship drive from. So my dad has literally never worked for anyone a day in his life. He started his
Okay.
first business when he was 17 years old. That's a business where even when we moved to America, his brother took over and expanded. So still in the family today. Take care of my family does really well.
Okay.
So I kind of had that dynamic. My mom was a teacher, taught her whole life. So I saw definitely both sides, what the entrepreneur life can look like, and the freedom and the flexibility and what comes with that, and then also the 9 to 5 life, and what that was like. I would work with my dad and make extra money. I'd work during the summertime and make money, for school and stuff like that. So I've always kind of been, independent and willing to work for what I wanted. So I think that's something that's, hard work as a Jamaican is just ingrained in us. So that was definitely something that I grew up with.
Okay. When
Mhm.
did it click for you that the 9 to 5 wasn't for you?
My first job.
Yeah,
So
what was
my,
your
my
first job?
first job was actually working at the movie theater. Okay. I did concessions at the movie theater for $7 an hour, bro. That was my first job. And I was the hardest worker there. I'll tell you right now, like I knew how to do everything, right? I could run any station, I could work any area of the concessions, right? From popcorns to the food side to
Okay.
Starbucks. Like I knew how to do everything. But I would get paid the same money, right? So,
Yeah,
I'm a firm believer, call me crazy, but I genuinely believe that if I work harder than you, I should make more money.
I
Period.
agree.
Right? Call me
Yeah,
crazy. So this idea that I'm gonna get paid by the hour instead of what I bring to the table and how hard I'm willing to work and what I'm willing to do just kind of didn't really make sense. So I learned pretty quickly from that first job, like, yeah, hourly wage made no sense. And that's how my next job ended up being in retail sales and earning commission because again, if I'm better than you, I should make more money. And I firmly believe that I'm better than most people. So I
yeah,
should out earn most people.
yeah.
And that's what I did when I made that transition. I was one of the youngest guys making more money than most of the guys in the store. And doing what we did. And so it kind of just
So,
grew from there.
so PC was your second gig?
Yeah, my second job ever. I worked started at Ace. Well, I used to do stock in the summertime for them. Then I
Yeah.
worked at Ace. Then I went into sales, and yeah, the rest is
So
history. And now,
never
then from
you
there to
never
my
went up to
business.
management.
Oh no.
No?
Management, that's for people that can't sell. You know that already. If you can't sell, you manage, you know? Because you get to do nothing and collect the check. But if you were good, and remember, I specialize in high end, and I was the youngest guy doing that, and I killed it. I hit six figures working there, and yeah, it was game over after that.
That
So
was my goal. I was working my way up to designer.
yeah.
That's when I departed. Okay.
I loved it. I loved it. It's
I was
so weird
tired of
because
design.
literally I've had clients contact me up to this year and I haven't worked there in over 10 years. But that's a part of also like just my culture and mindset. When you build relationships and you do the right thing by people, folks come back. They want to do business with you. They remember you, and yeah, so I send them to my other folks. I'm like, nah, I haven't been there in a long time, but hey, go talk to my guy or whatever. And yeah, man. So it's all about treating people right.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. And so far over the years, what has been your favorite part of what you do now?
I love so much about what I do. I genuinely enjoy what I do. Again, my passion is still working with people. Every day you meet somebody new, it's a new dynamic, it's a new background, different personalities, excuse me, different family dynamics. So there's so much about what I enjoy. But that's definitely my favorite part is the front end, working with people, helping them hit their goals, helping them with their finances, helping them put together a plan, man. It's unbelievable, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, because so many people just don't think about finances, and it's something that impacts us every single day. So my knowledge and everything that I know and how I can help folks, plan and shape their financial future is definitely something I'm super passionate about and I enjoy.
Okay. So far, what has been the number one dilemma a lot of your clients have when they come to you?
Um, the number one dilemma. You know what it is? The lack of education is probably the biggest issue I see. And it goes back to just how the system is set up, right? When you think about personal finance, we don't learn personal finance in school, right? There's
Okay.
no money class, there's no investing class, they don't teach you about taxes, they don't teach you about anything in regards to the thing that we use the most of and use every single day, which is money, right? So, the fact that you can be an expert, you can be a great nurse, you can be a great lawyer, you can be a great doctor, you can be a super smart, super professional, tons of degrees, but that still doesn't mean that you understand finance and personal finance. So when I get to, break that down, make it really simple, educate people about those things and how it works, man, and see the light bulb goes off, it's absolutely amazing. So yeah.
All right. So somebody walks into your office and they say, I work for such and such law firm,
Mhm.
but I can never get my finances correct. What's the first thing you're gonna start talking to them about?
That's a great question. Of course, everybody's situation is a little bit different, right? So there's no one size fit all. However, I think the goal is the same, right? Like everybody's goal is to really get financially independent, get their finances under control. Everybody wants to, avoid being paycheck to paycheck, right? So it's just some basic things that we need to understand and do. So I start by, just again sharing some simple concepts about saving money, about developing that habit. That's probably the number one thing that I help clients do is to start developing that habit of saving money, right? Because the truth is, if you can't save 50 or $100, no matter how much money you make, you're not going to save 500 and 1,000. That's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it's really about just starting and developing the habit. So if I can get somebody started along their financial journey, let's start automating some savings, right? First, let's look at your finances. How much money do you bring in? What are your fixed expenses? I'll tell you what the number one thing is that nobody does, and that again, clients at every single level, can make a huge difference. Is that's in having a budget. No one budgets.
Okay, your budget.
Okay, no one has a written budget, right?
Going
And
for
again,
it?
I'm not saying that you need to micromanage your money every single dollar. No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is you need to know, hey, you know what? We make $5,000 a month, right? Or we bring home five or $6,000 a month, $4,000 a month. It doesn't matter how much, $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
Here's how much money we spend on our rent, on groceries, on our car. Here's what our fixed expenses are. Here's how much money we have left over,
yeah,
right? So something as simple as having a written budget and just knowing how much comes in, how much goes out, that makes a huge difference,
That gives you at
such
least
a
a
big
base.
difference.
Yep.
Absolutely, right? Because every time I do that for a client, right, a lot of folks will go, well, I don't have enough money to start saving. Hey, I'd love to start investing for my retirement. I'd love to start saving for my kids. We don't have enough money. You don't? Really? Okay, great. Let's take a look, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, literally, bro, I'll find 500, 1,000, sometimes $2,000 for a client. I remember when I first did a written budget for myself, I found 1,500 bucks that I couldn't even tell you where it's going. I
Wow.
couldn't tell you, right? So, we because we're now in the world where we just tap and everything now is tap, right? We don't reach in our wallet anymore and pull cash out. So you're not really paying attention to how much money you're spending. But if you
Yeah.
really stop to just take a look, you'll find hundreds to sometimes a couple $1,000s that disappears that you don't even know is disappearing.
Yeah.
Right. So now once we have a basis for where you stand financially, now we can start to work and putting together a game plan for where you need to be and where you're trying to get to. Make sense?
Sounds good.
Hmm.
So out of the clients that you've had over the years, what's the worst situation that you've seen as far as a budget? Someone thinking that they're doing good and they're like 5,000 in the negative. Somebody who is doing better than they thought. Like, what's the craziest situation you've seen?
So so many different situations come to mind. I literally have probably a couple thousand clients at this point. But I'll tell you this, right? Because this will actually help everybody, is that understanding that your income is not an asset, I think is really, really, really important, right?
Definitely. Yep.
I have clients and I've sat down with clients that make, three and $400,000 a year, right? Their household income, right? That literally have $0 saved. They have a negative net worth. They're drowning in debt, right?
Yeah.
And I've sat down with folks that make 60, 70, $80,000 that are doing just unbelievably well. Right. They have money saved, they're investing for their retirement, they have no debt, and they're really doing well financially. So I understand that it's not how much money you make, but it's how much money you're actually able to keep and what you do with your income, right? That's very, very important for a lot of clients to understand. And that's usually, a big thing.
Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, you forgot to give the example.
Oh, so like for example, I had a client that again they were making the husband was making about 330, and the wife was making another, almost 100,000, right? So again, they made a lot of money, right? So, we were sitting down and again going over their finances, trying to figure out what's going on, and they literally had no money saved, right? No money saved and could not account for where the money's going,
Okay.
right? So I'm like, okay, this clearly doesn't add up, right? Because if you're making this much money, right,
Well,
no matter
somewhere.
what your income is or what your taxes is or whatever, I know you're bringing home, right? Let's say even half of that. $20,000 is over 16 grand a month, right? Your mortgage is this, your payment is this. Where is this money going, right? And after meeting with them and kind of having a conversation again, guys, like, hey, listen, we clearly need to start. You guys are young enough and you have the income and the cash flow that you could really, you could do very, very well, right? If you do the right things, you could, be stone cold wealthy, right? But we got to get the ball rolling. We got to make some changes, right? So after sitting down with them, having a meeting or whatever, I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out step by step, no problem, right?
Yeah.
The wife ended up having a conversation with me after, and she said, hey, listen, thank you so much for coming over. I'm so glad we were able to meet with you. And, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. There's not a gadget under the sun that my husband doesn't buy.
Oh, okay.
That was the problem, right? So she's like, look, I understand that we're not saving money and we're trying to do this, but every like if it's the phone, the this, the like everything, he just spends all the money
Okay.
so just kind of with them talking about it, it became a point of conflict where it was obviously you don't want to argue with your spouse every day, right? So me coming in as a third party now and now kind of shining the light on your situation and having that conversation was kind of a bit of an eye opener to actually get them to see like, hey, listen, bro, you make way too much money to be broke, right? What we ended up doing was of course written budget, right, looking at how much money we have left over after we took care of all the bills, started setting up, making sure we're saving money at work and investing in that 401k, and then setting up investments outside of work, right? Automating those savings. So if you got paid on the 15th, we got money that's coming out and going into your investment account, right? So even if you blow everything in your bank account, we already had money that we took out and is going towards saving and investing for later. Does that make
I see.
sense? So, again, those are the little things that can make a huge difference, just kind of getting the ball rolling with, where you need to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as insurance,
Mhm.
when you have that first discussion of insurance with your clients, what's the first thing that you come and inform them of?
That's a great question. I love talking about life insurance because, well, first thing is that's usually a taboo subject, right? A lot of folks, unfortunately, especially in our community, sometimes don't like talking about life insurance or thinking about life insurance. We think, oh no, we're gonna die right in this and that. But let's be real. We're all gonna die at some point, right? However, the worst thing that could happen is dying prematurely, right? So we know we all gonna go, but the goal and hopefully is that we all go at 99 years old in our bed, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not gonna happen for all of us. So the worst case scenario is dying prematurely and leaving your spouse, leaving our kids, leaving our family, not just to mourn, but to struggle, right? I think that's
Right.
just terrible.
It's
Okay.
horrible.
Exactly. And believe it or not, about 5,000 people die every single day with absolutely zero life insurance. Okay. You can go online right now and look at GoFundMe. There's thousands of people right now begging for money. Right. There's folks that are going to do fish fries and, the church collection and call around to all the different family members. And I don't know about you, but I just think that's embarrassing personally.
It's horrible. I
You
don't know.
understand?
It happens
Yeah.
in my family, so I know.
Exactly. It's happened in mine, right? So to understand that setting up something as simple as a life insurance policy can save your family so much pain and stress and hurt. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by not engaging in that and understanding that it's just as important as making sure that we're saving and investing and all this other stuff, that we're properly protecting ourselves and our family. That's a very pivotal part of the financial pie. And really the foundation of putting together a financial plan. So that's something that I talk about extensively. Very
Okay.
important.
So, what would you say to somebody who says, "I don't believe in that. None of my family members have ever gotten that, and I don't trust it because I heard bad stories about the insurance company not paying out when a loved one passes away." What would you tell that person?
Well, the first question is, hey, you ever lost anybody in your family, right? Or do you know anybody that's lost someone, that didn't have insurance, right? I think
Yeah.
everybody can relate to that, right? So again, you know how hard it is and the struggle of leaving your family behind and not leaving any money, right? If you don't have a trust fund, you need life insurance, period.
What's
Okay. Eh,
explain what a trust fund is because that's an interesting topic.
well, guess what?
Like,
If you don't know
we're
what a
not going to
trust fund
gloss.
is,
We're not going to gloss
you
over that. But that's a
if you
very
don't
important. That's a very important vehicle. I need you to bring that up.
absolutely. If you don't know what a trust fund is, you need life insurance. Okay. That means
All
if you
right.
don't come from wealth, if your family don't have money already stacked up, if you're not totally financially independent, if you don't have a business or assets that you're inheriting already, and 99% of people don't, right?
Yeah.
You need life insurance. If you have a family, if you have anyone that depends on your income at all, a spouse, a child, mom, dad, anybody, if you have anybody in your life that you love and depends on your income, your paycheck, you must have life insurance. Okay. Because insurance, right? Again, a lot of people think about it from a burial standpoint. That's the least. Okay. We're not tripping over bodies in the street, right? So clearly they do something with them, right? They go somewhere. So it's not about a funeral cost or getting buried. It's about the family and the people that you leave behind that were relying on your paycheck, right? The average American makes about 50, but it makes about $60,000 a year, right? And we live in New York. So the average person is probably making a little bit more than that, right? So over 5 or even 10 years, you would have brought home somewhere between 300 and $600,000 of income,
Yeah.
right? That's a lot of money that just boom disappeared.
Yep.
Okay. So if you have a small child, if you have a spouse, it's unfathomable that you think that they would just be able to get by missing 300 to $600,000. It's just not going to happen, right? So the easiest way to replace your income, again, not burying you and putting you in the ground, forget about all that. You need to replace your income, and that's where life insurance comes in. And you can get a low cost, high value insurance plan for, I mean, sometimes like $1 a day, right? It costs absolutely nothing, less than coffee, less than Starbucks, to make sure that your family is properly protected and that you have a foundation that now we can start to build the rest of your financial house on.
Okay. And Doug,
Mhm.
for $1 a day, so that's roughly $30 to $31 per month.
Ballpark,
How much
right?
coverage would you get for something like that?
Well,
Just
of course,
ballpark.
it depends on
Ballpark.
your age, it depends on your health, it depends on what you want and what you're covering, right? So, again, I make sure that my clients are properly protected. That's the key, right? So you want to have an adequate amount of insurance based on your needs and your assets and your protection, right? But, let's say you're young and healthy, sometimes 150, $200,000, right? That's quite that. Well, first of all, that's way more than zero.
Oh
And
yeah.
again, it's based on your needs, right? So I feel like there's no reason why anyone ever you or your family should pass away and not have something, right? That's inexcusable, right? But again, the challenge is the lack of education around it and just not having a conversation, knowing who to talk to, about these things. So my clients, anybody can always call me, hit me up, and we could talk for free. And of course, I can help guide them and kind of show them what to do. And, again, just at least talk about it, educate them on it. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Hmm.
If you had a microphone in front of you to speak to 1 billion people for 60 seconds, what would you say?
Uh, That's a interesting question. 1 billion people. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, I go back to what we just talked about. Hey, every adult, every person, every adult needs to have life insurance. And B, you can get wealthy. It's so much easier than you think it is, right? Everyone has the opportunity to get rich and get wealthy and can build wealth. And hey, if you don't know what to do, I'll show you what to do.
All
That's what
right.
I'll tell them.
What's the truth about your industry that people aren't ready to hear?
Um, that Great question. I think that finances are a lot simpler than we think, right? A lot of folks believe that if they're not like a math wizard or some sort of, genius or scholar, that they can't understand finances. The truth is, it's a lot easier than we've been told. The problem is that it's been made complicated on purpose, right? To keep a lot of people out, right? Just being honest, right? It's been made very complicated on purpose to keep a lot of people out. The truth is that the banks and just businesses get rich off your lack of financial knowledge, right? And your lack of financial education, right?
Okay.
Even think about going back to, we were in retail sales, right? And a part of our job was getting people to open credit cards,
Yep.
right? And it's a credit card that would charge you 30% plus, right?
Yep.
But hey, guess what? If you don't have the money, hey, don't worry about it, right? Don't use your money, use mine, right? Let's
Yep.
let's sign you up for a credit card and get the ball rolling. But because most folks don't understand interest, they don't understand the compounding power of interest. Interest works against them instead of working for them, right?
Yep.
So, again, what we don't know really can hurt us, especially when it comes to personal finance. But it's so much easier than you believe. Again, it's just about having someone that's willing to teach you and work with you, and get you going.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. When it comes to you personally, when you're facing difficulties, who do you speak to get you through it?
That's a great question. I think God first and foremost, right?
All right.
Certain things you can only,
Number one answer.
yeah, you can only take above. But also I've learned the value of a mentor in business.
Okay.
I'm so glad and I'm so blessed. When I think back, I've always had mentors in my life. I just didn't quite realize that's what it was.
Yeah.
But the first thing is, my brother is actually 16 years older than I am. So
Okay.
when I was growing up, my brother was like my father figure almost, right? And just the type of person that he is, the man that he is, the father that he is, he's a huge role model of mine, and he's definitely helped shape me in a lot of different ways. But also in business, I have mentors in business, right? So, of course, as an entrepreneur, things don't always go your way. So I have somebody who's, above or ahead of me, right? They're where I'm trying to get to. That's, we can talk, or I can pick up the phone and say, hey man, here's my challenge, here's what I'm going through. They can give me advice. They can share on things that they've been through and how they've worked it out, but also more importantly, right, they can help, get me back on track, right? Like, hey, listen, it's worth it, right? Because here's what I've accomplished, here's what I've achieved, and here's the reward by working through what you're going through instead of folding up. So I think that's really, really important.
Okay. What's something you've done for money in the past that you would never do again?
I've here's the interesting thing. I have well, I'll give you the answer. It's working a job. Okay. I'm just being honest, right? I could never, right? And again, nothing is wrong with that, right? I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier, and there was a guy that like cleans porta potties and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, like that's awesome. Like there's anything you do to make an honest living, I 100% support it. I personally would do anything to make an honest living and take care of my family. If I had to pick up garbage, I would do that to take care of my family, right? But
Yeah.
knowing what I know and how I value my time, I don't feel like there's an hourly wage that you could pay me that would make me want to go clock in somewhere, right?
Gotcha.
Like I said, my dad has never worked for anyone a day in his life. He started this business at 17 years old. So, and my dad just turned 68, right? He has never had a job. He's always had a business, made his own way, created his own income. So I'm cut from that cloth. That's something that I would absolutely do. I go figure something out before I go clock it anywhere.
And I gotta say, your dad is a devout Christian,
Yeah.
and I still got the Bible he gave me years ago.
Dang, that's awesome. I'm
That,
gonna let him
yes,
know.
that's, that's
That's
gonna be a
awesome.
family heirloom. He gave me a good quality Bible, and I still got it to this day.
That's dope, man. That's wonderful. That's dope. Yeah. So and he's a hard worker. He's worked hard his whole life. And that's the thing too, like why I am the way I am. Like, like the way we grew up and the business my dad ran in Jamaica and how we lived in Jamaica, like it's like a dream, right? Like literally, because I would go spend time with him in the summertime. We would get up in the morning, we'd go to the beach, we'd go like swim for a little bit, hang out, then we'd go back to the house, we'd go shower, get dressed, then we'd head to the job. Then we would drive out to the different hotels, because he was in Montego Bay. So we'd go to different hotels and we'd have lunch and hang out because he would do business there with them. And then we would go back, and then we'd like count, so my dad had employees and a bunch of stuff, different locations. So, seeing the sacrifice he made transitioning from, the comfort and the business that we had in Jamaica to the hard work that he put in being here.
Yeah,
I personally feel like, hey, I'm not allowed to waste the opportunity. You understand what I'm saying? Like it would be disrespectful for me to not make the best of, being in America and what it means, considering he could have just chilled and been like, hey, y'all figured it out. I'm good, So to give my sister and myself the opportunity to be here, I had no choice but to be successful, man. I had to make it work.
what did he do
So.
on back home?
So my dad had a meat distribution business. So my family comes from the country, so we have a huge family farm with like cattle and everything, cattle, pork,
Yeah,
beef,
chicken.
everything.
Okay,
So if you eat meat at a hotel in the Grill or Montego Bay or Kingston, it might have came from
came from your
uh,
farm.
yeah, it came from my family's farm. Yeah. So my dad started that, then my uncle took over when we left, and yeah, it's still huge and still running and still doing his thing.
Amazing.
Hmm
What was he doing here? What business did he
Um,
have over here?
so he had a trucking business, so everything from moving and deliveries and installations and just everything having to do with working like a courier and stuff like that.
What was the? I'm thinking like when you're dealing with the what they call it? What's that field? Butcher, the butcher field. What they call that?
Hmm
That's what you call it?
yeah, you can call it that. Yeah,
Okay. As a butcher, do you think he probably faced like emotional trauma from killing these animals?
I know I have. That's how I know I couldn't do it. I remember being a kid and going to, because I actually had like a pet goat as a
Oh
kid,
man, I already know where you're
and
going with this.
yeah.
That's trauma.
Because they're so cute when they're young, okay? They're
Yeah.
so cute, they're so friendly. The bat is so like nice. That is really cute. And I remember going to going to the butcher area one day and I saw them kill a cow, man, and I was just like, yeah, I'm good. Like I am
Oh
good. It's one
man.
thing to see the meat like in the shop or in the freezer,
Yeah.
but how it got there, there's a saying that you don't want to know how the sausage gets made, and yeah, you don't want to know how the animals get to your table, but everything they do is like very efficient and kosher, if you will. Like they don't make the animals suffer and stuff like that. They really take a lot of care in that. But if you're a layman or a novice and you're seeing that for the first time, it will shock you. You don't want that experience. So no.
Yeah.
I knew that
I've
was
seen
definitely
some
not for
stuff.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad. It's delicious, but it's yeah,
It's
you
bad, but it's
never,
delicious.
yeah, make you want to be a vegan ASAP.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely traumatic, man. I remember.
If you had to think
Mhm.
of one thing that you know will make you happy if you're feeling down, what would
Yeah.
it be?
I love to travel, man. That's my thing. I've kind
Traveling.
of
Okay.
I've put the work in. So now I'm at a position now where I really get to kind of live life on my terms. So what brings me joy is just doing what I want to do and doing things for my family. So I love traveling. I love traveling with my daughters. I love going to different places and having different experiences. So whether it's sometimes international, sometimes it's local. We'll do staycations. It's just enjoying different experiences. So being a boss all day and all week long, anytime I get to take a break and just relax and refresh, it really recharges me. But also it allows me to get back on track and go, man, this is why I work hard so that I can play hard and have a great time and enjoy the fruits of my labor. So it always just fires me up and gets me back in the mindset to get things moving again.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your knowledge on credit scores?
It's honestly, it's overrated. It's
Okay.
important, right? So don't get me wrong, it's very important, right? But a great credit score is a byproduct of being financially responsible, right?
Okay.
A lot of people, here's the interesting thing about a credit score. You can be in debt, right? Like seriously in debt and have a great credit score, right? So this is why I say it's overrated. You can have 10 different credit cards, bunch of debt on it, right? No money saved, but if you pay your bills on time, you will have a great credit score,
Let's go. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
That credit score is not an indicator of financial success, right? What credit score measures is your ability to borrow money. Right. So if you're
Okay.
trying to borrow money, then you need a great credit score, right? You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. Now that's fine. Now I got a great credit score. So I'm not, again, nothing against great credit score. Right. And I'm buying my car. Like my last car, I bought over the phone. Right. I said, hey, I ordered it online, told them what I needed, and I literally went, picked up my keys, and drove out. I was in there for like 15 minutes. Right. So not saying you don't need a great credit score, but I'm saying that that does not equate to financial independence. Having money saved, having assets, having your debt low, or none at all, being debt free, that's what the goal should be, right? And if you're focused on those things and doing those things, the credit score is going to naturally follow. Okay, because low utilization, having a long credit history, having a healthy pay history, all of those things add up to a great credit score anyway. So let's put the focus on that, and the credit score is going to come.
Got it. Well said.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a question from the previous guest.
Okay.
The person was Calvin.
All right. Cool. Oh,
His
I can't wait to
question.
see that interview.
Yeah, that one's gonna come up real soon. All right. His question was, what did you value 10 years ago, and what do you value today? And has it changed?
That's a wonderful question. What did I value 10 years ago? Um, as I've gotten older, definitely my priorities have changed. I think what I value the most now, it's really the simple things. Like I'm not really super fussy about stuff or things. Again, what I really enjoy is just really living life on my terms. So,
Okay.
not having a boss, any day I want to be a holiday can be a holiday. I don't have to wait till Friday or the weekend. So just the simple things and just being able to live life on my terms is what I truly enjoy. I think 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I was starting, my journey and starting my business. And that was the goal. So, I used to have to kind of follow the mold back then, but the goal was always getting to the point where I am and still building and moving forward. Um, so I think that's definitely what I value now more than anything. That was a really great question by Calvin, by the
Uh,
way. So,
What question do you want the next guest to answer?
what question do I want the next guest to answer? Okay. Um, well, since I'm coming from the finance field, I'm making a finance question. So,
Okay.
what, how important is financial independence to them, and what steps are they actively taking to make sure that they get there? Okay, that's my question, right?
All right.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a good one. That'll get them. And if they don't know, then hey, they need to come talk to me.
That's your guy.
That's it. I'm the man.
All right, Doug. I appreciate you, man.
Mhm.
Until next time, guys, just comment down below if you have any questions for Doug. I'll ask him, or his information gonna be at the bottom. Just reach out to him.
Thank you so much, everybody. Dan, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate what you're doing, man. I love the podcast. I appreciate being one of your guests, and of course, you're my guy. So thank you so much. Thank you,
All right, brother.
everybody.
Next time, brother.